What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Football Addicts. We have a great episode in store for you today. We're going to start it off with a quick Dawson's debate between Nick and Wyatt, and then we're going to go get into a sleepers episode, which is one of my favorite episodes to do all season. It's one of the most important ones, I think, in my opinion. So, guys, you ready to do this? You excited?
I'm down. You're going to lose again?
I don't know. I feel like it's hard for me to be wrong on this one, so we'll see.
So before we get started, we're going to give you a quick update on the channel, a little bit things that's going on. Nick actually just purchased a brand new Yeti microphone, and I just purchased a webcam, pretty expensive webcam to improve our quality. So we're just trying to do everything we can to improve our quality, to bring out better videos for you guys. So with that being said, let's get started with the second ever Dawson's debate. And we put out a poll on Twitter. Which wide receiver will have the best breakout season in 2020? A.J. Brown, Calvin Ridley, or DK Metcalf? We had 61.9% of the poll vote for DK Metcalf, so he was the winner in the poll. And so I kind of have my take on this as before, but we're going to let these two guys battle it out and see who can change my mind or convince me of their take. So who wants to start it off?
I think Mick can go first since DK Metcalf won the poll. And that is the position Mick will be taking.
Okay, so first, I want to thank all the people for agreeing with me on this one. DK Metcalf is an absolute
61% of the people, not all the people.
Well, most of the people. I'll take that. So DK Metcalf, last year he had 100 targets as a rookie for 900 yards as a rookie. Like, that's insane. Like, you don't just come in there as a receiver, come in, catch 900 yards. He finished 33 in receivers last year in his rookie year. It's not like he's a second, third year guy like Calvin Ridley is. He had 15 yards per catch, which is pretty great. He averaged 11.9 fantasy points per week, which is really good.
PPR points, right?
Yeah, PPR points. 11.9 PPR points in his rookie year as a receiver. That's hard to do because it takes a minute for receivers to come in, learn NFL route tree, learn NFL cornerbacks, learn the new quarterback. They moved away. Everything's harder up in the NFL. It takes a minute to get acclimated, and to get 11.9 points in his rookie year is absolutely insane. The biggest knock on him coming out of college was actually his health. If it wasn't for his health, he would have been a first-round draft pick in the NFL by an NFL team. How hard is it to be 6'4", 230 pounds and run a 4.33? That's insane. That's not even fair. And then have you seen his freaking workout videos? The dude has like -% body fat.
He's an absolute physical specimen. So that's a pretty good argument for Mick as for DK Metcalf. Wyatt, I want to hear your take on who did you take in this poll?
I took Calvin Ridley, and I think it's a pretty easy choice in all honesty. And before I go into Calvin Ridley specifically, I'd like to just kind of knock DK Metcalf as why he's not even comparable as far as breakout season incoming to Calvin Ridley. And I think that's just solely because Tyler Lockett is in Seattle, and Tyler Lockett is the go-to guy for Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has the number one passer rating when it's his second read or later. So after the first read, if it's a second read or later, then he has the highest pass rating in the NFL. And when that happens, he's going to Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett is his comfort zone. He just knows where he's going to be. They have great chemistry, and I don't think DK Metcalf is going to be that guy.
Wouldn't you say the same thing about Julio Jones and Matt Ryan?
Julio Jones is on his way out. Calvin Ridley's an absolute stud, and I think he's a more well-rounded receiver. And I don't know. I like the situation more with Calvin Ridley, and I feel like he's going to get be the sole kind of target for targets. I think that DK Metcalf, you said he had 100 targets. He had 58 receptions. He's catching about half of his targets. I think Calvin Ridley's going to catch a lot more than that percentage-wise. And like everyone's talking about, the Falcons lost 120 total targets or something like that. It's insane. I think all the pieces line up. Matty Ice he's a little bit of a choker, can't handle a Super Bowl, can't handle a 28-3 lead, but I think he can handle the regular season, and we all know what he does. He just adds on passing yards, and Ridley, I think, is going to start take over this year as the alpha in Atlanta. And I think that I don't see a situation where I take DK Metcalf having a bigger breakout year than Calvin Ridley. And then as far as AJ Brown's concerned, I don't think anyone likes that situation. They don't pass the ball a lot. AJ Brown's obviously going to be incorporated into that offense in a variety of ways, but I don't think the volume is there. It's a Derrick Henry running offense, and we all know that. I don't see not taking Calvin Ridley right here. I think he is, you yourself as someone who reached and took him in the 3rd round should know he's poised for a huge year, and I think we're all waiting for it.
Yeah, but I took him in the 3rd round in a dynasty league. It's not like I took him in a redraft reach for him.
Well, DK is young also. Younger, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he is, but I can take him later in the draft.
So those were both very good arguments on both sides. And I'll be honest, before I even came into this, I am a big Calvin Ridley fan this year. And after that argument, I am sticking with Calvin Ridley. Wyatt wins this one. And here's why, everyone. Calvin Ridley is on a team. Wyatt, you've got the numbers wrong here, but he is on a team that has 258 vacated targets this season. That is 39.3% of their targets.
258?
258. That's 1,285 air yards that they are vacated this season. That has to go somewhere. Even if it splits 3-3-3 to all 3 receivers or to the tight end, that's still an extra 10% boost, 15% boost in target percentage for Calvin Ridley. And he already had a huge year last year. He's an absolute animal. And Calvin Ridley already was an animal last year, and he's not going to take a step back. He's going to take a step up, especially with 260 targets available. They have to go.
I also think Calvin Ridley is a lower profile receiver, if that makes sense, for defenses. When you're out on the field, defenses obviously know DK Metcalf, we need to cover him on the deep ball. Julio is that guy in Atlanta, so he's going to get that double coverage. The safeties are going to be watching him. Calvin Ridley is going to be more of a surprise factor. He's not a surprise to anyone in the NFL, but when it comes to defenses getting burned, I think he's going to burn more defenses. I think he's going to be far more effective in the passing game with the passing offense and a passing quarterback in Matty Ice than Russell Wilson, who mainly throws to Tyler Lockett and occasionally goes to DK Metcalf. I just don't see him having a better season than Ridley.
Wouldn't you say that if Russell Wilson goes to Tyler Lockett most often, they're going to try to double Tyler Lockett?
Tyler Lockett's like a slot receiver. He's not a deep ball threat. Like, he can catch the deep ball, but he's a Edelman. That's what he is.
Listen, defenses are going to have to pay way more attention to Julio Jones than they will have to Tyler Lockett, in my opinion, right? The defenses are going to double Julio way more than they would double Tyler Lockett. So that means there's way more defensive coverage to focus on DK Metcalf than there is for Calvin Ridley. And I think just looking solely at the targets vacated, you have to take that. I think there's just no argument against that. And I think Calvin Ridley wins this argument. Wyatt ties up the series 1-1, finally gets on the board. So with that being said, we're moving into our sleeper segment of this show. And this is by far, I think, one of the most valuable videos we'll produce this season, because if you hit on any of your late round draft picks, it will win you the league. You win the league. I drafted Mark Andrews in like the 13th round last year, and I won the league. So it's stuff like that if you can hit on your late round picks, on your sleeper picks, these guys will win you leagues. So with that being said, Nick, let's start it off with your first late round sleeper. Actually, before we get started, we're going to preface, we're going to have 2 redraft sleepers and then 1 rookie dynasty sleeper. So we're going to start with our redraft. Nick, give your first redraft sleeper.
Okay, so my first redraft sleeper is actually Kenny Stills. I have a few reasons why I picked Kenny Stills. One of them is because 2 of the receivers that are ahead of him are made of glass and will probably miss a lot of games this year. Combined with the 2 of those 2, Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller, they'll probably miss a combined 16 games. I'm just calling it. Like, he's, like I said, so he's 1 play away from becoming the starter. Not only that, he's Deshaun Watson's biggest wide receiver threat. Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, and Will Fuller are all 6 feet or lower. Will Fuller is the tallest one. He's 6 foot, 172 pounds. But Kenny Stills is 6'1", 200 pounds. If you see a red zone opportunity, it's either going to A, run, B, throw to a tight end, or C, going to Kenny Stills. I see Kenny Stills catching like 7-8 touchdowns this year just because of his size compared to his other receivers.
He also has the deep ball.
Yeah, he also has the deep ball. And not only that, is the Texans have the second most vacated targets with DeAndre Hopkins leaving. DeAndre Hopkins alone had 150 targets last year. So that's got to go somewhere. And if it keeps going to Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks is one concussion away from never playing football again. Will Fuller,
he's one hamstring away from never playing football again.
He's one hamstring away from missing the season. And then coming back next year, hey, I'm going to be healthy this year. I got to play 16 games and then screwing it up week 2.
The Texans actually have 167 vacated targets this season. That's incredible.
150 of them are from Hopkins.
Yeah. So that's a very good sleeper. I'm not as in on Kenny Stills this year as Mick is, just because I haven't seen Kenny Stills produce that well for fantasy in a very long time. I don't even know if ever we've seen him. So I do like the situation he's in. I do think, I mean, this is late round sleeper, so you're not really risking much to take him. And I think he has tremendous upside in that offense with Deshaun Watson as his quarterback. And with those two guys, Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller, probably going to miss 12 to 15 games. Now that takes us to Wyatt's first sleeper in redraft. What do you got here?
Went ahead and went with Gardner Minshew here. I think not only just NFL-wise, but fantasy football-wise, he's a very underrated quarterback. Not only does he have above a 90 passer rating, but he passes the ball quite a bit. He has a 21-6 touchdown to interception ratio in 2019. Fantastic. Wow. I'll take it. And he runs the ball, believe it or not. I don't think people realize that. He had just around 50 rushing attempts last year. And I just think that he is a guy that is going to be fringe top 15 that could push fringe top 10, absolutely, for sure. And if he plays the full year and he's comfortable with I think one of our rookie sleepers that someone's going to be talking about, I think he's going to have a really good season. I think Chark has another good year. I think their passing game is just going to work really well, especially with the possibility of Fournette not being there. I think they're going to have to pass the ball a lot. I love Minshew. I think he's a steal in late rounds. I don't think anyone's targeting him. And I think you should, especially if you're going with a strategy where you're taking quarterbacks later. Absolute steal. You're getting the value of someone who I think he's going to be equivalent to, I would say, Matthew Stafford maybe this year, who we think is going to have a good year. And he's got a little bit more of a rushing side to him. So I think he's going to be solid. And I think if you can nab him late, he's good. And you could reach for him with his ADP being so low.
I totally 100% agree. I love quarterbacks with a rushing floor. It's good for week to week, just safety. It's kind of a security blanket for your quarterback. They can have a bad week. If they rush for 40 yards, that takes away 2 interceptions right there. I think he has a great rushing floor. And with the strong possibility of Leonard Fournette holding out, that passing offense just can be incredibly high volume. So I don't see why not to take him.
Minshew and DJ Chark last year, when them two played with each other, they were unstoppable.
Yeah, for sure. So that's going to bring me to my first sleeper, and that is going to be Hayden Hurst. And just like the argument with Calvin Ridley, all I have to mention is the vacated targets in this offense. It's just the sheer volume of targets available for that offense is incredible, and I think it's going to split between Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, and Hayden Hurst. We've seen what Matt Ryan can do with tight ends in his offense. Tony Gonzalez and Austin Hooper. Through the two tight ends, he has made them extremely fantasy productive tight ends. The tight end tied to Matt Ryan will always have a fantasy relevant year, in my opinion. And Hayden Hurst is actually a good athlete. He kind of got overshadowed by Mark Andrews when he played for the Ravens, but now he's finally breaking into an offense where he is the only tight end target available. And I think he's going to just see a large amount of red zone targets and just targets between the 20s as well. So I think he is a huge, huge steal right now he's going as tight end 14 in the 11th or 12th round in most formats. So tight end 14, I think he has the upside of finishing tight end 6, tight end 5 to 8 range easily with that offense and how many targets are vacated. So what do you guys think about Hayden Hurst? Would you take him in the late rounds?
Yeah, easy money. He's a tight end. Tight ends are hard to find. If you could snag him in the later rounds, that could be the next Mark Andrews for this year.
Yeah, and Awesome.
Yeah, I definitely think he has a huge ceiling in that offense, and I think I would very much compare him to someone like a Higbee, who like when they're playing at their best can be an elite tight end. And great value. You don't have to take a tight end early this year. You really don't, and I
Right.
think that's good for fantasy football in general. So it's not the worst thing in the world if you end up taking someone like a Fant, Higbee, or a Hurst in this situation in later rounds, because you don't feel like you're gambling streaming, for 2 points
Right.
a week.
Right. I definitely think as a tight end 14, you have nothing. You're risking nothing at that point in the draft. You're drafting the tight end 14 in the draft, and he has huge upside to win a league for you. And I'm going to go with my second sleeper for redraft is going to be Deontay Johnson. And this guy, I don't think I could be more in on a second-year receiver ever. I'm so in on this guy. And here's why. He is going as the wide receiver 40 in the 10th or 11th round right now. That's obnoxious for him to be going that late. Here's why. He was the leading wide receiver last year on the Steelers last season. I know Juju Smith-Schuster was hurt for a couple games, but he had the most receiving yards on the Steelers, and he went 59 for 680 yards and 5 touchdowns as a rookie with Duck Hodges as his quarterback, guys. Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges were this man's quarterback, and he put up almost 700 yards and 5 touchdowns as a rookie. He's a good athlete. He is going to be the number 2 behind Juju, and with Juju healthy, I think that's only gonna boost his stats because defenses are gonna have to cover Juju more. And with Big Ben back in the offense, I think he is going to light up the scoreboard this year. Deontay Johnson is a huge. I think I've taken him in all 3 of my dynasty drafts so far that I've done this season. So you guys like Deontay Johnson? Oh, you're crazy. You're crazy. Are you worried about James Washington or Chase Claypool? Because
Chase Claypool's a monster, bro. Watch out.
I don't see Chase Claypool. I mean, I do see Chase Claypool having a good year, and I think he's definitely a value where he's going. But I think Deontay Johnson is going to be the clear number 2 in that offense, and I think they just have Big Ben coming back is just huge for that offense. And what he already did with the worst quarterback situation I think in the league, he put up those kind of numbers.
Yeah, I like him, but I don't love him.
Why? What do you think about Deontay Johnson?
I think it goes one of 2 ways. I think it goes very well, and he ends up an easy target for Big Ben this year, who hopefully is going to be feeling pretty good. I think people are kind of overdoing the Tommy John thing. If we're all baseball players, so we know that it's not a big deal. If anything, he's going to be better. Yeah, it's not the same. He's going to be fine, and so I think it could go well. I also think it flutters out, and maybe next year we're not talking about Johnson as a serious fantasy option. I don't know. I think it could go either way. Like I said, you're throwing darts at this point. So if he hits, then you might have a solid starter every week.
Yeah, he's gonna. I think I'm all in on him. They're both kind of lukewarm on him, but I'm all in on Deontay Johnson. He's gonna be one of my. I think I might take him in every single draft this season. So I'm going all in on him. Wyatt, that takes you to your second guy. Who you got for us?
Steven Sims for the Redskins. He's the number 2 in that passing offense, and I think that Terry McLaurin obviously caused a storm last year. He's going to have a lot of attention on him. Someone else is going to have to catch footballs. And yeah, Terry is very scary as far as the rest of the NFL knows now. And I think Steven Sims, he only had 75 fantasy points last year, but I think when he was on the field, he was catching 60 to 65% of his targets. And he's a solid overall receiver. He's young. I think Dwayne Haskins is going to have to find someone else to pass to if he's the one that's there for that long throwing passes. So I don't hate the volume considering, and he's going undrafted in most redraft leagues.
Right.
You're getting a number 2 wide receiver in an offense who he's going to have to catch some footballs. So I think if you're late in rounds, why not just take some sure points? Honestly, easy.
Especially with the upside that he has. If Terry goes down, or if Dwayne Haskins can actually support a good offense somehow, if he stays healthy, he has good upside. And if he's going undrafted, I mean, I don't see as your last pick, take him because he has a solid floor. He's going to be the wide receiver too. He's going to have to catch at least 4 or 5 passes a game.
Yeah, exactly. You're very concerned about that offense, but there has to be some volume. They're going to get the ball at least every time after the other team scores. So there has to
Right.
be some
I mean,
offensive volume. It's an NFL team. You're not totally concerned. Not taking the second wide receiver on an NFL offense when you're playing fantasy football. Like, what are you doing?
if you're taking any number 2 receiver with the last pick of your draft, I think you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, so that brings us to Mick's last redraft sleeper. Who you got for this one?
I got another receiver. I'm taking Alan Lazard. How can you not take him in the late round? He's the number 2 receiver to the greatest quarterback of all time, Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, come on. That's not.
I don't know about that one.
Hey,
That's
I
just
don't
the
like
dumbest thing.
that.
I just wanted to let you stew on that
We
because
don't have Tom Brady
everybody
slander in
knows
here. We
Aaron
don't allow it.
Rodgers is the greatest quarterback of all time.
We have to come back to that
Yeah.
debate at some point on another video. We're gonna have our 3 debates, but that
Hey, how many rings does Aaron Rodgers have?
Football's a team sport. So weeks 6 through 8 last year, Devontae Adams was out with the turf toe injury. He averaged 5 targets a game and averaged 11 points in those weeks. I don't know if you know this, but Aaron Rodgers has a hard time trusting receivers. But once he trusts you, that's it. You're going off. And I think Alan Lazard has gained Rodgers' trust, which is really important, especially when you're working with a guy like Aaron Rodgers. And in the last 2 weeks of the season, he had 8 and 9 targets, 8 in week 17 and 9 in week 16. Both of those games were they were playing because they were trying to fight for that last round bye, the last team to get the first round bye. Historically, with Rodgers being a quarterback in Green Bay, receivers have broken out in year 3, and this is Alan Lazard year 3. So watch out, he's going off.
So that will do it for our redraft sleepers. And now we have a little bit of bonus content is our dynasty rookie sleepers. And I'm gonna go with none other than Laviska Shenault, and he's going as the wide receiver 44 around the 11th round, similar to Deontay Johnson's spot. And I don't see why anyone in a dynasty league would not want to take this guy. He is the number 2 in his offense already coming in behind Chark. And this is an offense where D.D. Westbrook got over 100 targets. They're desperate for someone to make an impact. D.D. Westbrook is not worth 100 targets in an offense. And this guy is a good athlete. He has good draft capital. He's going to come in and take a lot of those targets away right off the bat. Also, he's tied to a guy we have as our other sleeper and a young quarterback, Gardner Minshew, who I think that whole offense is going to be a high passing volume if Leonard Fournette holds out 1. And I think it's going to be an improved offense altogether than last year with another year under Gardner Minshew. And I think Laviska Shenault is an easy late round flyer for a dynasty draft because of the upside he has as the number 2 behind Chark. Defenses are going to be zoned in on Chark, and he's going to be unproven. No one's really – it's kind of like Terry last year where he came and just a blind rage and just went off for the whole season. So I think Laviska Shenault definitely has that upside. What do you guys think about Laviska?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Shenault. I think, like I said, I talked well about Minshew, and I think that Shenault is going to be a very big part of that offense this year. I really think he's going to be a solid red zone target, and I don't know. It's hard not to take a guy who's going to be, and again, a high volume offense. So at this point, when you're talking about guys later in the draft, you really are looking for just volume. Like, they're going to get the work, and Shenault's going to get that. In my opinion, you might have some people argue that, but I think Westbrook can't catch a ball to save his life. He's not really a football player, so give me Shenault all day.
So that'll do it with all of my sleeper picks. This takes us to Mick's 3rd sleeper pick and his only rookie dynasty pick. Who you got for your rookie?
So we touched on him earlier. I'm going to take Chase Claypool. He's 6'4" out of Notre Dame, who runs a 4.4 40. And when you're taking a rookie, it's hard to know who's going to bust and who won't. But there's very few things that you know for a fact will translate to the NFL. And you can't argue with the 4.4 speed. You're not just going to go to the NFL and all of a sudden start running slower. You're not going to just go to the NFL and automatically get shorter. So I'm going to take the big guy who has some speed, 6'4", 440. In the Steelers offense with a lot of weapons already. They said they're going to line him up outside. I kind of like that, but I guess we'll see. I just think he's more of a sure pick in the later rounds.
I don't like Chase Claypool only because I just think I guess it's because I'm so in on Deontay Johnson, and I also think that there's still James Washington there for his vying for the 3rd spot, and they have Juju, of course. I just don't think that he's going to be the guy for Big Ben to look to. And also, this is for Dynasty. So I think once Big Ben leaves, and Big Ben doesn't have too long, we have no idea what his quarterback situation is going to be. And that scares me in Dynasty.
See, that doesn't bother me as much because whenever you're assuming Big Ben leaves, once he does, there's going to be most likely a new rookie that comes in. And rookies are going to be kind of scared in the NFL because these big boys can run faster than they have ever seen in college. So they're going to be targeting the big guys out there to catch some passes for him. Chase Claypool could be the guy whenever a new rookie comes in early on in the new quarterback's career. Also, Big Ben is just coming off of an elbow surgery, man. It might take him a minute to get his bearings underneath center again, throwing passes. It's been a minute since he's had big dudes coming running at him. So I think that he could be a good guy that Big Ben will target probably a couple weeks into the season. It's going to take him a minute before he gets a starting role. But I do think that I have heard Mike Tomlin say some things about Chase Claypool, and he has really high hopes for him. They're comparing him to Hines Ward, and I don't know if you remember Hines Ward, but that dude was pretty good.
Yeah. I will say I'm not super excited about Chase Claypool, but you said it yourself, Mick. Like, you said you don't get, slower and you don't get smaller when you get to the NFL, but in a way you do because these guys are not college guys because everyone's faster, everyone's bigger, everyone's stronger. So I do like the speed and the size, but I really only really value that in guys that I know are getting a starting role or a huge role right away in the offense. I think Claypool could emerge, and he's a great dynasty late pick, but definitely don't look to him for any production this year, in my opinion.
Right. So, Wyatt, who you got for the last sleeper of this episode? Save the best for last. Who you got?
I mean, I don't even know if I would consider him a sleeper, but I haven't got to talk about this Tampa Bay offense with the GOAT at all, so I'm going to go ahead and throw it in there. It's got to be Keyshawn Vaughn, running back.
Wait.
When did Aaron Rodgers get traded to Tampa?
When did Drew Brees go to Tampa?
Oh, my gosh. No,
so, Keyshawn Vaughn, let's hear it.
Keyshawn Vaughn, I mean, really I see him as James White in this offense. I think despite the Rojo slander that everyone seems to, agree on, I don't think he's an absolute god-awful running back. I think he can run the football and do it decently. He can't pass block. That's not going to fly with Brady. So if they are passing, it's going to be Keyshawn Vaughn on the field. And I don't think that Vaughn has this huge advantage in the passing game. He was not a great pass-catching back in college. He did 2 years at Illinois and basically never caught the ball. And then at Vanderbilt, he started to catch the ball a little bit. He had 13 his first year there, and then I think had 28 the next year. So nothing crazy, but he can pass block. He's a gifted runner, led the SEC in average yards per attempt. And I do think that he's going to be James White-esque for Tom Brady. Again, he's going to be the check down guy. He's going to get some probably 30% in the running game. And I just, in PPR or half PPR, I don't see how you don't take this guy because he's not going to, break the ceiling through and win you a league, but he's going to be a huge role guy that you can pick up around the 10th round. And I don't hate that for a guy that you're going to start in your lineup every week.
I could not agree more with that take on Keyshawn Vaughn because, one, he has a guy that can't throw the ball more than 8 yards on the field on his
very true. Very.
As the pass catching back, that is just recipe for success for Keyshawn Vaughn. So I totally agree. He's a great value where he's going, I guess. But he's going to be James White in that offense, and I think that offense is going to be very good this year because no matter what you say about Tom Brady and not being able to throw the ball, he does know how to run an offense well, and he has great weapons in that offense. They're going to score touchdowns a lot, and I think Keyshawn Vaughn is going to get a lot of work in that offense, and he has huge upside if Rojo goes down.
I think if Rojo goes down, he's a top 10 back in my opinion. But I think y'all are sleeping on Tom Brady's ability to throw the ball down the field. Yes, he is old. Yes, he is not the Tom Brady of, the 6 rings,
I do think he can throw the ball down the field better than we all give him credit
That's
for.
what I'm saying. I think Godwin's going to be the short to middle guy. You've got the tight ends, which he loves. You've got the James White-esque Keyshawn Vaughn there. And then when he does want to rip it deep, you've got Mike Evans just waiting with his giant Aggie frame, Texas A&M produce man standing in the end zone waiting to catch balls from the GOAT. Mike Evans has 12 touchdowns this year. Godwin goes for, I'd say, right around the 10
40.
mark, maybe 15. And then Keyshawn Vaughn's probably going to book it for 6 receiving touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns.
So you have Brady throwing for upwards of 40 touchdowns this year?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Honestly,
honestly, this doesn't sound that
do all the
far
tight
fetched
ends.
because Winston threw 30 in that offense.
That's
a
what I'm
good point.
saying. Give me Tom Brady 45 plus touchdowns this year. I'm
That's a good
all in
point.
on that.
I do like Keyshawn Vaughn in that offense.
Love that offense. I've wanted to talk about this for so long. I need to do a whole segment just on that offense because I love it. My Brady jersey is on the way because of COVID.
No.
It's taken a while, but
Oh,
I'm so ready. Get Clyde on Tampa Bay. I'll never stop talking. I'll never stop talking.
Not gonna lie, that whole Tampa offense is fantasy relevant.
It's Goonie. It's Goonie, bro.
It's gonna be something crazy to. So that'll do it for our sleepers episode. Once again, one of my favorite ones to do. One of my favorite ones to watch other people do. I think you get some serious value out of sleeper videos because these guys can win you leagues.
Honestly, you don't win the league in the first round. You win the league in the later half. The back half of the draft, if you have a good back half of the draft, you win your league every time.
You can lose the league in the first round if one of your first round guys don't hit, but I mean, it's not going to – but what will win you the league is hitting on someone crazy down like the 10 to 15 range. So that'll do it for
I would just like to throw that in there. If you're drafting and you've taken most of the guys we've talked about that we've felt good about through the different ranges of the rounds, you've got a very solid team and you're pretty much contesting for your league. I promise that.
You have a good chance to hit on at least a couple of those guys. So with that being said, that'll do it for our video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Give us a like and subscribe. We're pretty active. We're trying to get active on Twitter, so go give us a follow. At the FF Addicts. It'll be at the bottom of your screen as always. Retweet our tweets, spread the word. We're just trying to grow our channel and give you guys some good fantasy football content. Thank you guys so much for watching. That'll do it. We'll be back with another player profile later this week. Nick is going to be doing Deshaun Watson, so keep your eye out for that. Thank you again so much for watching. Peace.
Draft Clyde.